On the news this morning, Christians asked to uphold virtues of Christ. Anambra lawmaker Ngobiri calls on federal government to enhance police operations. Reps NCC urge Labour to share planned protests. And on the foreign scene, China, Canada, Mexico vow swift response to Trump tariffs. Security is here to stay in Anambra State. In the Anambra, remember, security is everyone's business. And for us to have a more secure and livable Anambra State, let us join forces with the government in securing our state. If you see something, say something. Report on scrupulous elements to the security operatives for better security of lives and property. Remember the emergency numbers 5111 and 0800 2200 008. Good morning and welcome to the news. My name is Nonye Nwokoye. Now, the Vicar Christ Redemption Parish, Ezioka, Venerable Dr. Rex Kano says, Christ's second coming will bring justice to the oppressed. Venerable Dr. Kano stated this in a sermon during a church service with the theme, The Coming of the Messenger of Justice. Correspondent Amaka Onwuzulike has the report.
Venerable Kanu noted that in the world today, there is no justice and called on members of the judiciary to live up to their social responsibility by being at the side of justice.
People are being maltreated. He's the king of justice. So Christians should try to pursue justice, especially our high court judges, our magistrates who are Christians, to make sure that there is justice in the land. We pray that God will enable them.
At Annunciation Parish, Oka, a visiting priest, Reverend Father Jimin Cornelius, encouraged Christians to surround themselves with the things of God and live a life of righteousness for a better society.
Because the life is a life where you submit your whole self, not only to God, also to the human beings of this world, whom God has placed above you to watch over you and to guide you. So sometimes this life can be very challenging, dear brothers and sisters.
Also at Christ Holy Church International, Oka, Venerable David Achukwu said that seeing what is happening in today's society, all should believe and trust in God, who is the one that will salvage and redeem them from all manner of situations causing them pain in their lives. Prayers were offered for peace and the high cost of living in the country, while Thanksgiving climaxed the services and mass covered. I am Chinelo Onwuzulike for ABS News.
The Anambra State Government, through the Office of the Special Advisor on Community Security, has introduced new security measures to enhance the safety and security of Anambra and their visitors. A release signed by the Commissioner for Information, Dr. Law Mefo, says under the directives, all hotel guests must provide valid government-issued identity cards, international passports or voter cards to the hotel management, which the hotel owners must photocopy and submit them to the President General of the community, who will then forward them to local government mayor and state government to avoid forfeiture of their facility. Also, all landlords and landladies must obtain a form from the President General of each tenant occupying their houses or shops, which will be filled by the tenants. Failing to do so, the landlord will forfeit the property and face prosecution. It encourages the public to report any suspicious activities or kidnappings to the authorities, as a reward of 5 million naira will be given to those who provide valuable information. Now, the Chief Whip, Anambra State House of Assembly, Barrister Jude Ngobiri, has called on the federal government to train police officers on how to conduct investigations and provide them with enough facilities required to combat all forms of crime. Correspondent Chukwemeka Modelem reports that Honorable Ngobiri, who is also the member representing Ihiala 1 constituency, who made the call in Awka traced the increased wave of insecurity in the country to the failure of police to gather intelligence and the failure of government to provide enough facilities. The police need to be able to meet up with the advanced nature of crime. The lawmaker also urged judges to always treat criminal cases within a reasonable space of time, as when a case drags on for too long, witnesses who will give evidence will be disenfranchised and people will become disenchanted. John Bosco Eze from St. Michael's Model Comprehensive Secondary School, Nemo, in Njikoka local government area, has emerged the winner in the secondary schools category of the 2024 edition of Joe Anatune Memorial Essay Competition. Master Eze went home with a cash prize of 200,000 naira only. Our correspondent Gabe Alokwe fired this report taken from her.
Annual essay competition organized by Mrs. Ifeanyi Anatune, widow of the advertising doyen Joe Anatune, was aimed at encouraging young people to read and write in order to be better future leaders. Presenting a prize to the pupils, the organizer and member 1, Anambra State Basic Education Board, OKA, Mrs. Anatune, advised students to always read and research in order to develop their human minds and contribute towards developing their society. The winners, Master Eze and Ms. Nabugu, thanked the organizers of the awards and persuaded their colleagues in schools to study hard in order to be great in life.
So I will encourage everybody to encourage children to read and write. It's from these children we're going to get teachers soon for the next generation. It's from them we're going to get doctors. We need to invest in training the young minds, which brings us to this kind of thing, competition.
Thank you to them, and then I also urge them to never give up on this age and then this form of innovativeness.
The need for developed countries of the world to sustain support for underdeveloped countries has been emphasized. The Anambra State Commissioner for Power and Water Resources, Engineer Julius Chukwuemeka, made the emphasis while speaking to ABS on the recent withdrawal of the United States of America from the World Health Organization, and also the recent Japanese government and United Nations Office for Project Service, UNOPS emergency support to climate disaster in Anambra State. Our correspondent Emma Okonkwo fired this report.
Engineer Chukwuemeka, who noted that both developed and developing countries cannot survive in isolation, pointed out that even though the developing countries depend on developed countries for technology, improved healthcare, climate change, and other forms of assistance, the developed ones also depend on them for raw materials and natural resources, labor, and workforce. Contributing, the State Commissioner for Petroleum and Mineral Resources, Barrister Tony Ifeanyi, encouraged other developed countries of the world to, instead of isolating themselves from underdeveloped countries, borrow a leaf from the Japanese government recently reached out to Anambra State to assist in addressing the climate challenges confronting the state to make the world a better place to live in.
We need the support, of the developed countries for us to succeed in this regard. And of course, as we all know, there is a chain of because what you use in developed countries, part of those things, mineral resources and what have you, they come from here.
It's a good development that we should call on other donor agencies under world class organizations to come to our aid. Can come and do like the Japan government are doing with the UNOPS. It will be a welcome. I'm happy today.
Away now from state stories to the national scene, the House of Representatives Committee on Communications is interfacing with the leadership of the Nigeria Labour Congress to avert the nationwide protest scheduled for February 4, 2025 over the 50% hike in telecom tariff. The Nigerian Communications Commission, NCC, recently approved a 50% tariff increase for telecommunication companies, citing prevailing operational costs. Miffed by the development, the NLC vowed to embark on a nationwide protest calling on the federal government and the National Assembly to revert to the old tariff in the interim. The union noted that the rally would serve as a warning on the dangers of imposing such an unfair increase on a struggling population earning a minimum wage of only 70,000 naira, a population that has suffered an outrageous hike in the price of petrol, high cost of food, hike in electricity tariff, among sundry hardships in the past few years. And from the foreign scene, Canada, Mexico, and China have vowed to respond to sweeping new tariffs in their export to the U.S. announced by the President Donald Trump. Trump said a levy of 25% on Canadian and Mexican imports, as well as an additional 10% tax on Chinese goods, would come into force on Tuesday. Canadian energy faces a lower 10% tariff. The U.S. president said the move was in response to his concerns about illegal immigration and drug trafficking, two of the main promises on which he was elected. In response, both Canada and Mexico said they were preparing similar tariffs on U.S. goods, while China added it would take necessary countermeasures to defend its legitimate rights and interests. And now on sports news, Chelsea midfielder Cesare Cesade has left the Blues to become new Torino player on a permanent transfer deal. This was disclosed by football transfer expert Fabrizio Romano in a tweet via his X account. Recall that Cesade was attracting strong interest from Serie A clubs Torino and Lazio. And with that sports news, we conclude. But remember, you can follow news and programs on ABS from any part of the world by liking our Facebook page. Follow us at Anambra Broadcasting Service. Subscribe to our YouTube at ABS Television, Oka, on X at ABS Radio TV, and on Instagram at ABS Radio TV. You can also log on to our website at www.absradiotv.com. And the main news again, Christians have been asked to uphold virtues of Christ. Anambra lawmaker Ngobiri has called on FG to enhance police operations. Reps NCC has urged Labour to shelve planned protests. And from the foreign scene, we brought you a report that China, Canada, Mexico has vowed swift response to Trump tariffs. Now, security is here to stay in Anambra State. In the Anambra, remember, security is everyone's business. And for us to have a more secure and livable Anambra State, let us join forces with the government in securing our state. If you see something, say something. Report unscrupulous elements to the security operatives for better security of lives and property. Remember the emergency numbers 5111 and 0800 2200 And that's the news. We thank you so much for watching. My name is Nonya Mokoye. Good morning and have a beautiful day.